I'm here at the Omega Institute in upstate New York, and I've spent the week learning Attachment Focused EMDR with Laurel Parnel. It's about as distilled a version of therapy that I can imagine. I can't imagine how you distill it further. Basically, we create safety, we activate the trauma memory network, which are present symptoms, things you're struggling with that still have charge. You feel it in your body. Then we tap using electronic tappers or tapping with the hands, either yourself or the therapist. And we move the energy through as you associate on the image and see what your unconscious wants to do, and the image is allowed to unfold within a safe container. And we keep coming back to the image as that's the focus until there's no more charge, until we've moved this energy that's been at the core of whatever your symptoms are. What's remarkable is that EMDR works at a time scale of literally sessions, weeks and months, as opposed to years. It may not solve every problem in your life, and you may need talk therapy for other things. And I think we do need support and mentorship, and therapists can often provide that. And so long-term work can be very helpful in terms of building out the life you want. But in terms of healing and feeling good about yourself, that work might be a lot quicker than you think. And so EMDR gets right to the root of the problem, creates a shift, creates a change in behavior. It's very behaviorally focused and gets you to the place where you're living the life you want. And so EMDR is a very efficient way to get into the root of a problem and to discharge the energy that's there, and then to watch that flow back into the present and into the future in the form of patterns that you're freed from, like phobias or reactivity or self-doubt, something we've been holding in a way of being in the world that we don't need anymore. And what I'm very impressed by is how client-led the process is. So it's very much a case of creating a safe space, bringing up the target issue, seeing what the unconscious mind wants to do when we spend time there. Maybe it was a scene in your family life, and to keep sitting with that picture and seeing what the unconscious mind links to it, seeing what body experiences happen, seeing what unfolds. Just over and over again, we've seen the unconscious work through what's at the root. And so the image adjusts in some way, and the unconscious can now do the repair so that you're not carrying the hurt still with you, that you can heal what's been bottled up. As an example, I can speak about my own experiences. One of my sessions was around fear of public speaking and speaking in meetings, and there was a particular memory of being at a boardroom table and having my voice freeze up and having to stop mid-sentence when I was meant to be presenting on a company. I wasn't able to complete what I had to say. Later, I found out that I actually had a collapsed lung at the time and ran out of air. But this created a pattern where I could no longer speak comfortably, and I started to panic that I would run out of air, and my heart would race, and I couldn't speak in public settings. And when we sat with the image, I started to see that boardroom table. I could see all the people, and I stayed with it. And they started to evolve into Lego men. And I could see all the different business people, very serious, going about their business activities, but in the shape of Lego men and downsized. And it kind of became cute and funny. And I myself became bigger and bigger in the image and less cared about what the people at the table thought. So it was more like a scene that I was witnessing, and it was not about me. It was about this very bizarre business situation in front of me. And as I was sitting there, I started to get the image of the big, fat, laughing Buddha. Nothing phases this Buddha. And I had the image of myself as the Buddha, just grounded and laughing. I actually started smiling. This upsurge of joyous energy came, and I experienced petals falling from the sky. So the whole scene became a bizarre, ridiculous affair, and it no longer held any charge. And when I think back to the scene now, it still doesn't hold charge. I can easily bring to mind this Buddha figure. I've transformed the memory in some way. It actually feels different. And when I imagine speaking in front of business people now, I can easily bring back that sense of them as Lego men, as fundamentally involved in something that's not of cosmic importance, but that it's just business. And there's a silliness about business. And that helps me to lighten it and has really transformed the way I'm thinking now about working with business. Another example that relates has to do with feeling self-doubt and feeling not enough in certain settings, where I feel like the person has a lot of seniority or is very imposing in some way, and having to work very hard to please them. In EMDR, you can establish a belief up front, and my belief was I have to work very hard to be accepted. And then when we bridged that back and I let my unconscious surface something, I completely out of the blue remembered myself picking up leaves in the neighbor's garden and obsessing that every single micro leaf was picked up. And I probably spent 4 hours doing what was meant to be a 30-minute task. And this was something I did for several years, actually, and took a lot of my time, and in hindsight was humorous in terms of overworking a situation that didn't need it. So I saw myself in the garden picking up the leaves, and I just sort of imagined the intensity of it, imagined kind of wanting to, do a good job and going around picking up the leaves. And as we were doing the EMDR, my unconscious wanted to include the person who was doing the tapping with me. And so they were in the yard and we were going around and I was spiking the leaves, and each tap was like a leaf that I was picking up. I could see the leaves being cleared in the garden, and I started to realize, it just kind of came over me, you only need to pick up the big leaves. Leave the little leaves. And in the image, I started to just pick the big leaves. And I could see the little leaves still there, but it didn't seem like a problem. And this may seem completely obvious, but it felt very fundamental to me that you only need to pick up the big leaves, leave the little leaves. And it felt important in the image to go around the whole garden. And so I did that. And there's a tremendous sense of completion and accomplishment. And then my mind conjured up a picnic with my practitioner there with me. And it was a tea party, and there was just a sense of fancifulness and wistfulness. And it felt like the job's being done and you get to have a tea party. And then I had the image of bringing this tea party with me into client spaces, into the work I do with business. And there was just a kind of lightness and a different feeling about how to work going forward, where there's more of a sense of enjoyment of the experience and, a little bit of flair, a little bit of play, and that the job doesn't need to become so big, and that maybe there can be time for rest, time for play as well. My tendency to overwork and to put work at the top of my value system, I could feel it diminishing. So those are two examples that I experienced. Many people had similarly profound experiences, and it's been quite remarkable just how quick you can get to root issues and then actually see a change in a very short space of time. I would think of it as focused active imagination. So it's the focus of keeping on coming back to the image is what really makes it powerful. And then going with the client, going with the unconscious, and the unconscious knows how to heal. And that's a fundamental principle of this work. I think you can heal in a much quicker time than is typical with talk therapy because it's so focused and it gets right to the thing that you avoid, right to the thing that you've bottled up. And there's support, and the tapping actually seems to have some kind of grounding, tethering type of role. It helps you feel in your body as you're imagining, and it helps the energy to move through. Each time I've processed, I've felt the wave of energy move through. And there's a real grounded effect and a real spaciousness that comes over. And I think the tapping is a big part of that. So I'm extremely excited to bring this work back into my practice. I think I'll be encouraging many clients to try EMDR. I have purchased the tappers, so it'll be available. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And thank you for listening and being part of my experience.